Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another best of 5 series this time. This is going to be a ZvZ, very interesting mirror matchup between TSLHyuN, or Hyun, I'm going to say Hyun for syllabic simplicity, is going to be our red Zerg player spawning at the bottom left of Shakura's Plateau up against roxkisSlivko, and he is at the teal Zerg at the top right of the map. So roxkis is radical online extremists, a Russian gaming clan, and TSL, of course, Team SCV a notable player, and there's Polt, who is actively competing in the IPL4, which I've been following very closely. But this is no IPL4 match. This is from the Antec Attack, which is a weekly online tournament with a prize pool of $200, 200 euros, sorry, 125 to the winner, 75 to the loser. So it's a lot smaller. But I figured, you know what? I wanted to cast the ZvZ. This seemed to be a pretty neat series, and it's a best of 5, of course, with these two players just simply duking it out on Shakura's Plateau. So while we wait for this game to really get underway, I'm going to just mention a couple of things. First off, IPL4 has really been exciting. I've been watching Nesty light it up 4-0, Idra completely losing out 0-4. Of course, every series in group play is a best of 3. Bomber finished, I believe it was 3-1. Pretty interesting stuff. MMA up there as well, qualifying. Stefano losing out in a very epic match to Marine King Prime, who has been doing fantastically. So really my bet right now is on Stefano, Marine King, or Nesty. They're 3 very, very big names right now. So while we get into our game, both players opting for the hatch, both Slivko and Hyun. I figured I'd also bring this game to you guys because both of these players are up and coming. They're only beginning to reach their top level, StarCraft 2 level, and truly, it's going to be exciting to see, you know, if I cast this now and then see a couple months from now, these players have truly developed into the people that will be at the next IPL, IEM, LLG, and so on. That will be interesting. But I have read up on Hyun's career. He is South Korean, and it's pretty interesting. He's been starting to pick up lately. Of course, Polt really brought TSL a name earlier this year when he won that Aces Winter Assembly ROG against Stefano. He started to just win various events, and now he's in the IPL4 fighting pretty hard there, and let's see how he does in the championship bracket. He has qualified. Some disappointments as well. White Raw, he went 0-4, and that was pretty disappointing for me because I'm a big fan. Both players, by the way, opting for the hatch and pool, so this is an identical matchup. Even the Overlord scouting extremely similar. One going here towards the natural. Slivko is coming towards Hyun's natural. And 2 queens now from Slivko. So I think this is just going to come down to some roachling timings or just tech if one player decides not to go for roachling. So even look at that. The mirror 2 lings, 2 queens on each side. Metabolic boost though coming from Hyun. So that could play an important role in this game. Again, these various Overlord scouts getting vision for their respective masters. And Metabolic boost now on the way from Slivko. So I have slightly looked into the roxkis clan. It's a pretty big European clan. It's got some not really small time names, but not exactly popular in the international scene. But there is like Abver and Porny, the likes of those people. So we just did have a light engage there from 2 wings, and there will be a Banewing Nest now on the way from Hyun and a Banewing Nest on the way from Slivko. This is a crazy mirror matchup because it is literally a mirror matchup. What one player does, the other player does identically. I want to see. I casted one game and amateur commentary. I forget the episode number. I have not seen my amateur commentaries for ages, and it was almost identical to this in the sense that, well, not identical to this because it was a TVT, but both players had the exact same tech for the longest time, so I'm just laughing right now. Banewing Nest identical, the 2 wings were identical, and now Slivko is going to have his Banewing Nest a little later and his speed a little later, but he did get the faster 2 queens, so those larva injects could come into play. And by the way, on a StarCraft 2 player's note, and there's just so many Overlords hovering around, by the way, it's hilarious. It's just like no man's land of Overlords just chilling out with each other. On a StarCraft 2 note, I have been considering switching races. Spawncar on the way there from Hyun, by the way. From TOS, I just don't. I like the feel of Protoss, but I find they're just simple, and I don't like the micro control and just various techniques. I'd rather go for really I don't know. Zerg and Terran both interest me, so if you have any comments or recommendations, please do let me know. We do have a couple Banelings revealed now from HyuN, and let us see how these engages go. There is a Spinecrawler on the way, but that will not finish in time. Plenty of Banelings in production. That's 3 total, but 6 from HyuN, and he's just mobilizing a massive Zergling force. I don't know if Slivko has the means to hold this off. He does have a pretty big force of his own, pulling drones off the line to fend off these Speedwings, and they're going to do a lot of damage. But a Baneling does rupture, picking off HyuN's force, but there's another renewed Zergling force. Nice Baneling control there, but there's going to be 6 moving in now from HyuN. Let us see how the drones can be split, and they're all roasted. Slivko just lost possibly his entire economy. 15 workers killed right there. Beautiful Baneling control from HyuN, and he is, wow, excellent. It was a mirror matchup until that, and now look, 22 more Zerglings queued up from our red Zerg player, and he's reinforcing across the map. Of course, Slivko is going to see this on his Overlord vision, and probably just Grimace Queens now pulled off the line. 2 Banelings morphing from Slivko, but I think HyuN's done the damage he needed to. Though a Roach Warren has finished from Slivko, so hopefully he will be able to hold off with some Roaches if he can actually get the kind of economy back to get them. Look at that again, 23 workers killed total now, so some Lings must have rushed in and done some damage. There is a Spinecrawler here, and a handful of Banelings, in addition to a few Speedwings from Slivko. There's going to be another attempted Baneling bust here from HyuN. Let's see how he can do it. Though the Queens and Spinecrawler is making an effective combination. Here comes some of the Banelings. A lot of them actually dying prematurely. So it's an even trade-off in at least that battle. But I think HyuN's advantage is clear-cut. Wow. He jumped ahead an awful lot by just roasting that whole worker line. It would just look... I was just... Oh! You often see... I've seen some pretty crazy splits recently from a lot of Terran players, but... Poor Slivko couldn't pull it off here, and this could possibly lose him the first game. Let's see how it goes. There's now a 3rd Spinecrawler here on the way from our red Zerg player. And this has been an interesting ZvZ. I've not done too many ZvZs in my casting career, mostly TVPs and TVZs, but it's been pretty cool to be watching this mirror matchup. I'm not gonna try to do an exact rotation, like every matchup covered in like a rotation, like I don't know, ZVP and then PVT and then TVZ and then this and so on, if you followed my previous series. But there is Slivko now mobilizing some of his Zerglings, both players getting missile attacks level 1 in addition to the Roaches out and Wear Tech identically. So this is some insane, a twin game, I will have to say. And so the 3rd is going to be attempted here from Slivko, but this will be scouted by HyuN, so he might be able to hit it with a Roach Expedition. So I have to say, Slivko has rebounded quite exceptionally from that Baneling hit, but I think the economic damage was done by HyuN when he had the chance. And even though they are still mirroring one another, they're just... Let us hit the units tab. There are plenty more Roaches, 6 more there from HyuN over his opponent. But now supply is relatively even. We do have 2 Banelings on each side with 9 and 8 Zerglings, so very close in army, and the drone's almost even, so I think HyuN's actually lost this advantage for the most part. Truly, he has. He jumped ahead with the 15 workers killed, and it remains 23 afterwards, but it remains at that number, and he's just been unable to use the lead to his advantage. I think he should have followed it up with a hard push to drive his opponent on his back foot. Minor engages there. Slivko losing a few Zerglings. And so it's hard to keep up on this minimap because there's so many Overlords placed effectively around the map. I don't know when it's an engage or just Overlords moving about to scout. So HyuN has seen a lot of what his opponent is up to right now. And he knows that there's the Roach Warren. He knows all the tech, of course. But now there's going to be an infestation pit there from Slivko. Nothing from HyuN. Both players getting the Roach speed with... Actually, HyuN has already finished his infestation pit. I did not pay attention to that, and he has pathogen glands on the way for infestor energy. He is now getting his 3rd. Slivko his as well. So very, very close game, back and forth. Not sure where this one is going to go. We do have a pretty impressive Roach force, though, and overall dropping creep to allow for these Spinecrawlers to nestle in there, hold off against any potential response pressure. So there are relatively even units here. 19 to 13 Roaches for HyuN, 2 to 2 Banelings, and 14 to 3 Lings. So he's slightly outnumbered. Actually, my modestly outnumbering his opponent right now. It all depends on the Spinecrawler position, but I fear that if HyuN does not control well, he could potentially lose just because he's pushing. Sometimes I play along Hesperide, a good friend of mine. 2v2s, you've probably seen one or two of them if you watch my amateur commentaries. But sometimes I'd be so trigger happy and ready to push, and he would just say, "Dude, wait," and we would win the game because we wouldn't push into their siege tank line, and they would eventually push because we would macro up to 200 pop, wait for them to macro up to 200 pop, and out micro them in the battle as they push. So there is a couple changelings here coming in from HyuN, and there Slivko prematurely calls the WP, and HyuN wins the game. Game 1 of this tournament. Wow. That's pretty surprising, but I guess he knew he was going to lose because 32-14 roaches, and then where our lanes, actually no lanes left from HyuN, but 32-14 roaches is drastic enough. So coupled with a couple infestors, I think that was why Slivko would call the GG. A little bit upsetting because I always like to see the final engage. Nonetheless, well played on both parts in an extremely close mirror matchup, but I think that early economic damage, again, I'll take it for a third time, really made the difference for HyuN. I will catch you guys in game number 2. Hope you enjoyed this cast. As always, ZvZ TSLHyuN signing off.